The following content has been provided by New St. Andrews College in Moscow, Idaho. For more information, visit us online at nsa.edu.
Hear the world calling, but son, don't you listen. They're only trying to drag you back into prison, that's right.
Welcome back to What Have You. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
I am Becca Merkel.
And we're drinking holiday flat whites and being behind on Christmas.
And also behind Goodwill.
Oh yeah, back to our old
We're back.
stomping grounds.
We are back to the classics.
Yeah. Starting back
In
from
the
scratch.
rain. We're in the rain and the slush. It snowed, it was beautiful, then it rained on top of it. So it's less beautiful now.
It's not beautiful, but it's still a vista. We still have a vista.
We still are gazing out over
So,
the top.
what have we been doing?
Well, I will tell you. I got through my Christmas party, as you know, on Friday.
Yeah.
Well, I should pause and say that was everything that could go wrong with a Christmas party went wrong with the Christmas party in advance.
Well, you could just say with the kind of party that you throw for a lot of people where a squirrel eats your brownies?
Yeah, the squirrel.
That's the one.
The squirrel ate the brownies. Now, the thing is, I should have known. I should have known.
This is obviously old news to us because we just
we're
comment.
just like, yeah, that squirrel.
Becca
came.
had a squirrel sabotage the kids' brownies.
So, no, but first, I should have known that the whole thing was destined to have a bumpy ride because I did these I have to say, they were cute invitations, printed RSVP cards. It was for
I forgot that this is how it started.
This is how we commenced. So, it was a party for staff, faculty, and board for NSA and all their families. So it was like 150 total, like adults and kids. And I did these cute invitations and I stuck them in all their pitch boxes at NSA. So then the board members don't have pitch boxes, so I was going to just hand those off. And I handed one to you.
Yeah.
Then I handed one to my mom. And she was like, oh, it's so cute. And she was reading it off. And she's like, okay, 6 o'clock, December 21st. And I was like, no, what? Does it say December 21st? And it was in actual fact December 15th.
It's just nothing like using last year's date.
And so I had used some of the text from last year's invitation. And then clearly I forgot to change the date because I was in a big hurry.
And that was not it was not an important piece of information.
It was, yeah. So, anyway, I had to go tearing back to NSA, wildly retrieve all the invitations that I had handed out, then try and figure out who had already taken theirs, and then get them the news. And you don't know, who pulled it out of their pitch box, put it in their Google Calendar, and then set it back in their pitch box. That's also possible. So
Is there that person?
There might be that person. There was a lot of shenanigans to make sure everyone had the right date. Then we were doing these pork tacos, so it was like a caramelized pork and then a cucumber, pineapple salsa, and sriracha sauce on. So that was the main thing. But I had to do 40 pounds of pork, and you cut it all up in advance. So 40 pounds of pork and a whole bunch of citrus and, orange and limes and onions and everything. And I had 2 giant roast ovens. I plugged them in to slow cook overnight the day before the party, so Thursday night. In the morning, we arise, and they were sizzling when I went to bed. They were getting going, and they were sizzling. We get up in the morning. The breaker had flipped, and I had 40 pounds of raw pork that had sat at room temperature all the night long. So
that's really
7
the
hours.
Goal.
7 hours.
When cooking large quantities of pork, it's best to hold it at room temp for a long time, indefinite, an unknown amount of time.
And you're staring at all this pork going, our house is pretty cold overnight, right?
You're like, nap.
And not to mention all of the...
Fire me from the catering position if I ever make that call.
All of the, hours of chopping it up in advance. So it had been room temp for more than 7 hours. It was because, you get it from the store. I'd gone to Costco.
And that equals not safe to eat.
Not safe. So we had to throw away, the day of the party, 40 pounds of pork, rush to the store, buy another 40 pounds of pork, start over, slow cook it all day.
Who needed those first 40 pounds anyways?
No, and who needed that extra time in the morning when I was also giving finals still at school?
Yeah.
I was having to run to school, run back. Anyway, Ben was a champion. He cut up that 40 pounds for me and got it in both times he cut it up. Got it in the roaster ovens. Then I had done 2 trays of brownies for the little kids, because the little kids go upstairs and they have pizza and, stuff. Watch a movie. So I'd made 2 trays of brownies. Somebody was going to pick them up off my porch. And so I was like, I'll just set them out there on the table. And there was a snap-on lid, which I then walk out onto the porch to surprise a squirrel who had taken the lid off. Like he had gotten the lid off the brownies and had eaten out one corner completely. He was like sitting on the brownies. So like,
it's not every day that happens.
No,
so,
and this is also the day of the party. So then you're like, well,
nobody wanted a brownie.
The kids will have half-size the brownies that they were going to have, because he only hit one pan.
Because that's another food safety thing, is to not serve the brownie that the squirrel was sitting on.
Even though it looked untainted.
Just a hot tip to our listeners. Don't try to use it after the squirrel sat on it.
After the rodents have been involved.
I'll leave it alone now. Let it go.
So then, at the actual event, I borrowed Rachel's giant rice cooker, and I was going to do coconut rice in it. And for whatever reason, that rice cooker and that recipe did not gel
They did
together.
not think it would work.
So the rice cooker kept on just going on to warm. Like, I would put it on cook, and it would flip to warm.
I think it was burning on the bottom, so I think it was just too thick of a thing, so it turned
and the rice
off.
remained crunchy throughout the evening. I couldn't ever even serve the coconut rice. So I felt like the food table was a little thinner than I wanted it to be, because the rice is kind of a piece of that. It was like there's tacos, and I had like
I should say, from my perspective, I ate the meal, and I wasn't looking around wondering where the coconut rice was.
Yeah,
it was a good meal.
From my perspective, looking at that buffet table, and plus with the way everything went wrong that day, I did not have time to get it like decorated very cute.
It didn't matter.
Anyway,
it was cute.
People were fine. Nobody knew. Well, except for that I told them, but.
Because it was too funny to keep to yourself.
It was too funny. Like, threw away 40 pounds of pork. The squirrel got at the brownies. At first, I had the wrong date on the invitation. Anyway.
It was good.
It made me think that the forces of darkness were against us. I told Ben my theme verse of that day was, the stars in their courses fought against Sisera.
Yeah.
But we got through it. And it was fine. And actually, I have to say, the pork tacos turned out. And it was good.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked. But that was my little excitement on Friday, and that was peeling right off of a finals week. So it was very busy.
Our first day of break. Our kids are on Christmas break now. First morning, the early mornings of Monday for Christmas break, setting the tone for how we were going to do.
Yeah.
Over the break. Our dog, who typically is not a great evildoer,
became one.
4 of those big plastic candy canes full of Rolos, which were a support piece to some nephew Christmas gifts. They would like to make it a little more fun, those, snitched those, and must have taken several trips down to the basement, because she went off into the back, the loom room, as the kids call it, to eat 4 candy canes full of Rolos, and then awoke us by coming and vomiting colored foil by our bed. So it was like just really setting the tone for how Christmas break was going to be so peaceful and chill, and nothing untoward was going to happen, know. So that was that. Yeah. So really started it all off with a bang. And we didn't even know what she had eaten. Like, we were just like, what is this? Like, gross. And then later, when the wreckage of the candy canes was found, we were like, oh. And the one other thing that our dog cannot resist, and we've tried many times to have them in the house, and she just can't. She just becomes a demon dog in the presence of it. That chapstick, EOS chapstick, whenever that, isn't it? EOS?
Those little round balls?
Yeah, whenever my girls have one of those, she eats them. She just eats the chapstick. Like there's something, but there's other chapsticks that have safely lived in our house. That brand she munches them up every time. Yeah.
Wow.
She's a chapstick lover.
Well, given all of my hurricane-like activities on the weekend, before the weekend, I had not gotten any Christmas shopping really at all done. So I have been living the Amazon dream. Yesterday and this morning already, I have been ordering up I really had nothing. So I still have miles to go, but I have done some good work.
Action.
Some good work.
Start
but I'm going to have
now.
a horrifying amount of wrapping to get done come Thursday and Friday when those boxes start rolling in the door. But we are making progress. So that's good. And that's what I've been doing.
Congratulations.
That's where I have been. So you got through your Christmas party. I got through mine. Mm-hmm. We lived to tell the tale.
Did I do a Christmas? Oh, yes, I did.
I think last time, weren't we saying both
I was
of
like,
us had
I think
one?
I've lately just been attending Christmas parties.
you-
and there's
you
no
did
real
that
major
one.
congratulations to me for having attended a Christmas party.
No, but it's so far in the rearview mirror that
Yeah,
you
I forgot that that's
you forgot
happened.
that you did the Ladies' Fellowship Christmas
I
party.
passed it on by. Oh,
Weren't you
man. So
making,
somebody asked us.
because you were making tons of bread for it last time we
Oh,
spoke.
right. So somebody asked us to talk about what we do about gifts in our family. And it is true that if ever, I can't remember if any of us has ever proposed drawing names.
Occasionally someone
Sometimes
throws
it
that
comes
out there.
up, but I don't think it's I think it's usually someone else who's not in our family who feels burdened.
No, or
for
one of us will be like, should we ever think about that? And then there comes this sort of roar from the crowd with the heat of 1,000 suns.
That is
No,
no, never. So we have a thing where Christmas morning we all do Christmas by ourselves in our own homes with our kids.
Which is important. I think that that's an important piece.
Oh no, I wouldn't want to ever give that up. That's an important thing that we just
No, but
have
I know
Christmas at home.
sometimes big families, it just ends up everybody does it all at once.
Oh yeah, no, we have our own little Christmas times at home. Then we gather. Last year it was on Christmas Eve because of Sunday and everything.
Did we?
Yeah, because I think Christmas was Sunday morning last year.
Did we do that?
We moved it a day.
Weird.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Well. Anyways, then we all gather. We have a big brunch and we do gifts with each other. But that is where
at Mom and Dad's house.
Mom does a stocking for every kid.
Yeah.
And then every family brings a gift for everyone.
But they're small.
Like totally small. But I feel like we would the mood of our family is that we would rather wrap and deliver single packs of M&Ms to everyone than not have gifts for everyone. Like we don't care how cheesy, how bad, how lame the gift is.
No.
We actually so I'm really not interested in, and I think I can speak for the whole family, that we are not mercenary gift receivers.
No.
So in the side of this is so wasteful, if you had all just chipped in, I could have bought something I really wanted. That is a thing that we abominate a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the buy off of my wish list only.
No,
we don't tolerate these things. So,
well, years ago, this is probably 5 years ago maybe now, the kids still recall the time I didn't bring Christmas gifts because it was I was up late the night before manufacturing what theoretically was going to be a cool gift for the cousins, and then it involved spray painting it, and I spray painted them all before bed, and then I woke up in the morning and it was still wet, and I was like, weird. So then I didn't bring them to the brunch, and I was like, it's okay, guys, I'll bring them for Christmas dinner. Still wet. Never did dry.
Super weird. Yeah.
And so I didn't take, and then by the time, clearly it was right. Clearly it had not worked. And so then it was shoot, I'm going to have to start over. And then time drifts past, and I never did. I still
that
owe
was the year Becca got an A for effort.
Yeah.
You did all of it.
Maybe there was a bad squirrel that came and ruined it.
I think the thing that's important is, why is this getting, did I turn this all off here?
I turned it off because it was making weird rattling noises.
Oh, yeah, but I can't do a foggy car.
No,
You shouldn't
fine.
sit in a foggy car.
Okay, everyone, you're going to have to cope with a rattle.
Yeah,
while
the noise. So,
while we
didn't
defrost.
have, we just we're believers in the gift giving.
Yeah.
So, it's fun, and it's a thing that we care about.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody comes in with a impossible bucket full of gifts, and it is total chaos because you're like, where's Rory? Rory, where are you? Here's your gift, Rory.
And you're like wandering around with giant black garbage bags. Like,
yes,
just put it in here.
Put it in here. So I buy those cheap, like Michael's or lots of places have the like reusable shopping bags.
Every year I have plans.
The big plasticky totes.
Doing that.
So I buy those and write in Sharpie a name on those, and then every kid has their bag that their gifts at home that they put their gifts in there as they when they open them, so that their gifts stay in
I need to just do that because I always have these ideas of making it something personalized and awesome.
Of course.
And so that's why my children have all grown up with never having a place to put them, because I've never just
but the bag helps, and it helps to have them take a bag to Nana and Papa's too, so that we have a place that they put their thing, So we do that, and then and it's fun, and I actually find that I go in different phases. For years, if you think it is like too hard to buy people the same gift, well, like I mean different gifts every year, I don't think any of the men in our family care how often I repeat the wool socks and a beer routine. I'm like, it's your yearly pair of smart wools from us. And none of the men listen to our podcast, so I can say this year they're getting darn tough socks and
I'm turning this off. It's rattling and driving me nuts.
And a beer. Probably Chimay or something. I get them like a fun beer and socks. One year I got them like a cool, like a big bullet bottle opener. But we don't, in general, what we do is nobody cares if it's repeated. They're always glad to get another pair of socks. It's not like it matters.
And I frequently will do the same gift for all the nieces and the same gift for the nephews.
I have nephews, nieces. You have in fact, the men's department gifts this year feature heavily the darn tough socks because all the way back in like June, I went into Tri-State and they had a really cool pair of them on clearance for like half off. So they were $9 or $7 or something. It was way more in the ballpark of what I know. It's spent $20 on all of the nephews or all of that. Like, so it's lesser.
Yeah.
So I just bought like however zillions of pairs of that darn tough sock, and I've had it in a box in my closet this whole time. So
I scored for all the nieces I was just telling you, this little bracelets. It's actually a cute little like gold bracelet, but it holds a black hair elastic around your wrist, and it actually is kind of cute. But I found it, like I'd seen them for like $30, but I found them in an outlet mall for way discounted. So I basically just bought out their whole supply.
Give me all you've got of these. Last year in January, I went into an Anthropologie having its big clearance sale. I found these little embroidered pouches. They're like a keychain pouch with a tassel, whatever, with the initials, an initial embroidered on it. And it was like, we got that basket down, and I mean, we searched, like, are there all of the nieces' initials in here? And then, ta-da, we got them, we nailed it, but that was in January, way before. So if you're going to be buying gifts for this many people, you do need to be having a running start, because it gets lame or you could just go with Rolo candy canes if your dog likes them.
Well, I wish I had gotten a running start, but I didn't get much of one, other than the niece ones. But
but it just helps. I'm just saying it helps to be thinking about it in advance.
I like the overabundance of gifts, even if they're like funky and small, and it's just a great.
No, and one of the things that I love about it is that my kids all think of themselves as being gift givers.
Yeah.
Because they're like Daphne has a list of things we need to buy for her to make all of the cousins' earrings. Like, she's like, I have a lot of gifts to give.
Yeah.
And while it just continues to add to the chaos, it also is making people who love to give, and that's really important.
Which is really awesome.
That's like the key that we care about.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically we give a lot of gifts.
So
not that we're trying to be judgy of people who don't.
No, we do lots of gifts.
Draw names.
But we don't do massive, extravagant lots of gifts. We keep it.
No, we don't.
Keep it on the small end. But it does make for a fun party. And then we all go home and we lay on the floor and we pant for a while.
Yeah, breathe
And
into
then
a paper bag at home for a
And
bit.
then we go back and we do a Christmas dinner at Mom and Dad's. And that's where Rachel is. Are you going to bring your bouche?
I'm totally going to bring a
Bouche
bouche
de
de
Noël.
Noël. I don't know what else we're having. We need to figure that out.
Anyway.
And we always do, typically do Chinese takeout Christmas Eve.
You do Chinese takeout Christmas
Yeah, you
Eve.
guys have been for a while.
We
I don't know
do.
what we're doing this year because now we
go
have
to
other
Ben's
family.
sisters, and her
It's fun.
husband makes spaghetti and meatballs, and it's fabulous. And we do
Yeah.
our celebration with them on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
And that is also fun. We always do a piñata for whatever reason. We've been doing it with the cousins since they were little, and we do a piñata outside in the snow. And so it's gotten funnier as the kids have gotten bigger, actually. So we still, like, one of them is married and
I'm
two
still
are
doing
in
piñata.
college, and we're still doing the piñata. And now that we actually Rachel really can't handle fog on the windshield.
I can't
well,
take
I
a fog.
can't either if I'm driving, but somehow if I'm parked,
It's
I'm
the
okay.
basis. It's one of the foundational problems of my overstimulated
Yeah. Okay, well,
life.
just roll it down. Anyway, the thing is that we now live on a corner across the street from St. Mary's Catholic Church. And we have not planned it this way. It just keeps happening that we're doing a piñata out on the corner because that's where the
Yeah.
tree is, as all of the Catholics are rolling in for the Christmas Eve service. And we're like, don't mind us. We're all dressed for the Christmas Eve service ourselves, but we're doing a piñata in the snow.
Don't worry about us.
And so we used to do Mexican food, which is why the piñata happened, but
Yeah.
somehow it morphed
I love
to...
that. I love it. It's
It
so
morphed
good.
into a piñata and then spaghetti and meatballs.
I told Becca that Moses, our 2-year-old, has just right on time with Christmas. Out popped
the old man.
the old man. Out popped Adam.
Adam.
Adam has come.
Adam, there you are.
Yes, you're like, there you are. But it's just this so stinkity funny.
No, I
because-
have to turn this on because I'm freezing now. So
Okay, well, turn it
everyone's gonna
on.
cope with the rattle so that Rachel will roll her window
So
up.
my nightmare life would be
Gosh, we've got to
being
get that
stuck
fixed.
inside of a red interiored car because they smell worse. They smell like
A nice plush red
I don't
velour.
know. It's from my childhood. I don't know if the red upholstery actually smells like the red dye, but red interiors of cars from what era were those from that I would have to be in? The
I would
80s?
say 81.
80? That like burgundois. That horrible fuzzy the Chia Pet car. You know those? My grandparents had one that was red interior. You get in there and I would it was like instantaneous sickness. And so
Yeah.
I remember developing my theory was that like worst case would be my hair's down, which it is right now.
Yeah, it is.
So that's adding to the
so
fog
going
problem.
down your turtleneck.
And I was like, then you'd be wearing a turtleneck or something equally frustrating. And you'd
A
have
coat
your
with
hair
a
down.
hood.
Yes, you'd have something. The radio would be on just enough to be bothering you, but not enough to really hear it.
yeah, right?
And probably one of the windshield wipers, because the interior would be fogged, so it'd have to be like raining. And one of the windshield wipers would have to be missing a major
Missing
section
a
of
patch.
the windshield. Yeah, and then ideally there would be some sweet smells, like people eating donuts or something. And that is my ultimate.
7th level of hell.
It is my 7th level of hell, plus what would probably make me do some glorious car sickness.
Yeah.
So anyways, fog on the windows. I have to act early and act fast.
Okay, well,
to
fine.
deal.
And now we're all going to have a rattle so that Rachel doesn't have
Yeah,
a...
sorry guys.
fog.
I'm a needy person. So anyways, back to Moses and the old man
Oh, yeah.
popping out.
Popped the cloven
Oh
hoof.
my word, we were laughing so hard because yesterday he's at the table like playing with something, messing around, and then Shad says from behind by the Christmas tree, Shad says, it's like, oh, there's a present for me, and Moses startles like he had been shocked or something, like it's just like, and he just yells, Shad, mine. I'm like,
You're
well, hello, Adam. Hello, the sin nature of man. There you are. And so Moses has been in kind of an intensive training camp for godliness at Christmas
Can I
time.
just throw in a side editorial remark?
Yeah.
Never let that flit past unaddressed.
No, my heavens above. Because, well, unless you want it to stick.
Yeah,
unless this is the new way that you want your child to be.
And then you want to picture that in a 35-year-old man.
Oh, yeah, it goes real well. Anyways, the thing that we've been doing with Moses is saying, dragons say mine, good guys say yours. It's like, so that's the rule. Are you a dragon, or are you the guy who kills the dragon? Moses plays with guns a lot, with rifles or Nerf guns or whatever, and one of his things is dragons, because he'll ask me to, he'll come up and ask me to open the door for him, and I hold the door open and he shoots dragons out the back door.
Oh, that's
it's
good.
a thing he does. So the dragon is,
are you
being the guy who kills the dragons, or are you gonna be the dragon?
Actually, when our kids were little, we actually had an offense. Maybe I've said this before. An offense in our household was being a dragon.
Yeah.
And it was generally, what it meant was, you've taken the treasure and you're lying on top of it, and you won't let anyone else have it.
Which is amazing that that's actually a thing kids do. It's like hoard the blocks and lay on top of them.
Lay on them so that no one else may touch the block.
This is actually just like a dragon. Yeah. And that's not the thing we want you to be.
Do you see how you're being a dragon? Now we're going to go into the bedroom and talk about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so being a dragon is a special temptation at Christmas. To become a dragon.
And I think it's Moses just hit that age where he's aware. He's aware of Christmas. He's aware of presents. He's aware of and he's aware that he will get some.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, our heating department is failing us
guys,
today.
Guys, it's kind of a pain.
So anyways, it's so funny though, because I have the big thing of peppermints for him. So after we've recovered and talked through the issues, he has to go around offering them to the kids and saying, "Merry Christmas, Lena," like giving them a peppermint without him having any. He has to do it without having any. So after he's given them to everyone and said Merry Christmas to everyone, he has to give me the bucket of them, and then I will give him one and say Merry Christmas, Moses. So you have to be the person who can do this.
Can dispense.
Yeah, you have to be the person who does not scream mine when you hear someone else get a gift that you don't even know what it is. You don't even know. You don't have any knowledge whatsoever, but you know that the wrong name was attached to that gift. It's so funny.
It is such a basic,
it's just real taps into the primary nature of sin.
It kind of, I feel like it's right in there where the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. This is basically that exact problem.
Yeah, it's the only kind of wealth he has access to. So, we should change the subject here for Christmas.
All right, so let's talk about something else.
Something, we got a great question that I thought would be totally worth talking about on the podcast, which was basically, let me see if I can even summarize it. Basically, someone who's wondering because of us talking about food so much, if we think that food is a thing that women are like a woman who is being a wife and mother is required to be interested in or caring about. Basically, let's see, I'm looking at the question right now. She said, the issue is I have certainly been convicted via the podcast of not pursuing this area as I should for my family, but I just don't know what is the as I should part. Like, what is the part? Like, I think the question comes down to, what if this isn't my natural level of interest? Yeah, like, I'm not naturally interested in this, but I'm a wife and a mother, and I'm responsible for the food. Yeah. So, does it matter that I don't like it? Like, is this something that I have to confess that I'm not interested in doing the food? Because it's the way we talk about it, we are both obviously interested in the food.
Yeah.
But I would say that our mom is now, but she wasn't when we were younger.
Yes, she was.
No, different. It was different. Like, I was thinking about this because when we were little, it was a different era. Like, we live in a small town. Food diversity was not really a thing. Like, there was iceberg lettuce, and that was all.
There was no Parmesan cheese.
There was no Parmesan. No, there was like I remember our whole growing up was good food because someone who loved you was giving you the best food that they could, but it was not a like, it was great food. She made spaghetti or like stew or roast. It was great. She loved us. She made homemade bread. She invested a lot in the food.
That's what I mean. Like, she was always interested in
she
cooking
was always taking care of us with food. But the way she is now is just leagues ahead of where she was then. But it's been a continuous path of just faithfully.
I have to just qualify that, though. I think her demeanor towards it is the same that it's always been, but the repertoire, the opportunities, the things she cooks now, the level at which
they're
that's
also different because it's driven by a love of her people, because it's been Sabbath dinner that has done that. If she was just feeding, it would not require nearly as much interesting variation or changes or whatever for her to just be feeding. Well, I don't know, but I mean, just dad and mom eating together at night. They're happy with just having a salad in the summer. You know what I mean? Like, they're not like, I think what I'm trying to say is the reason she has so much of a repertoire is from loving so many people, like and consistently doing that. So I guess the thing that I
just mean, I remember her always being that way. It's just that it was with the limited resources
that were available.
But it was like different sorts of kinds of food that she made, but it wasn't that she didn't used to.
No, I'm not trying to say she changed. I mean that she changed, like she went through a conversion about food or something. It's just that she's in a different place than she is now. And my point is that where you are now should not, no matter what, be where you are in 25 years or whatever. Sure. Whatever you're doing, like, faithfulness will continue to move you along. Like, you'll continue to be doing things.
Well, and I would say, for people who are not naturally interested in it, I get that that's tough, because doing something you're not naturally interested in is, well, it's one of the most tedious things.
It's self-discipline.
But I think often you can grow to love something that you don't think in advance that you will.
Well, it's love bestows loveliness, and the more you give yourself in that way, the more you delight in it, and the more you want
But I would also say, like, so maybe it doesn't naturally interest you, but does it naturally interest your family when you love them that way? And if it does, if it's kind of like, because the thing is if your husband just really wants cheese flappies and that's all, you're not going to bless him by getting out a mushroom risotto.
The fact that you just said cheese flappies is hilarious, because that was the Lamaro's take on a quesadilla. To call it a cheese flappies.
A dang quesadilla.
A dang quesadilla. So
anyway,
the thing that I think is important is to walk back from the question of where you feel to see, like, what's the role of food in the life of a believer. And the thing that I would say is that just super fundamentally, like, let's just back it up. At the center of life, really, the center of the world is a table. Like, it is a table. It's the center of our worship services. It's the center of God's relationship with man, is a table of bread and wine. Like, that the Bible, when it says better is a dinner of herbs where love is than delicious food with no love, is like, that's true. Like, if you're out of fellowship with everyone, but cranking out gourmet meals, pity on them. You know what I mean? Like, that's a horrible life. At the same time, it's foolish to act like we can only have those two options, because what we can have is love and a beautiful meal. Right. Like, we don't have to, and that's the reason that a dinner of herbs where love is better, is because that is actually participating in the central meal of fellowship with Christ and each other. And where there's strife and a meal, you're not eating at a table. At that table. So,
but I also think, if you just think what the Bible has to say about food, there are so many things going on there. Like, you're talking about the Lord's Supper. Christ is the sacrifice that we eat. Mm-hmm. God says he will set a table for us in the presence of our enemies. It's like, there's
how much Jesus himself ministered to people through food. How much not just the food of his body, but the times when he took pity on them because they were hungry and he didn't want them to go away unfed, and he didn't want, like, that. And then
there's just he designed us to have to eat over and over and over and over.
Like you
every
day.
Yeah.
Like,
several times.
You don't necessarily have to eat 3 meals a day, but that's culturally
still,
what we do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that the fact that our bodies need that often, and that in order to get it, so much care has to go into it.
Yep.
It's reflective of creation. Like, we don't graze.
No.
We can't just go out in the field and eat something. Somebody has to, like, even the simplest foods have to be prepared.
But that goes back to, like, where did mankind fall? It was with a food. And what was the curse was you're going to dig it from the ground. It's going to be the sweat of your brow. But then you also have how much more will you appreciate God's creation if you decide to just embrace it? Because you think, like, he could have just made us take pills 3 times a day to give us the normal nutrients.
That tasted like nothing. What if it was like manna, little pellets of, not stuff like manna where you'd make it into bread or something, but just a pellet, like a pellet, stove pellet, that if you just pop it just rain down and you eat one of those,
just
and
give
then
yourself
you move on.
a little injection.
Yeah,
but
like,
no, like,
why do we have to eat? Why
but
are
also,
we doing this?
like, you couldn't ever possibly exhaust the options that God has put in the world for us. And the more you investigate it in this realm of taste, the more you realize the abundant provision that he has made for us to enjoy. Like, why did he make so many tastes?
Like, something that I've heard that I think is beautiful is that wine and cheese from the same area go together. Like, the same atmospheric conditions pair them well together. Like, they taste incredible together. And people say that that goes further, that bread, that the grains of certain areas, like, whatever. Anyways, the thing that we're trying to say is that food and eating together and the table is something that God put at the center of the universe, and that is not, as Luke said this, it's not a thin metaphor.
No.
It's a really thick one that you could just keep on going and going and going with. So,
and how much can you bless your people with food? I mean,
it's like an opportunity that you have so many times every day.
Yeah.
And then you think, in your children's childhood, how many opportunities to bless them have you had? And we should clarify, we're not talking about blessing them by just giving them the most decadent whatever. We're not trying to say how many times a day could you give your kid a Jell-O pudding that would make them happy.
But it's like, the thing is it's we all know how fun it is to have a really good meal, and whatever your version of a really good meal is
complicated, but like at least I think from the cooking perspective, trying to capture the mood of life at that time, like what sounds good, like what would be the thing that would delight everyone, like, because there are days that really soup is the thing that everyone is like, yay, and it is just an interesting, it's an interesting thing to do. But if you're not naturally inclined towards it, it doesn't mean you still have to orient your life around what God gave us. Like, so you don't have to dream about it at night or be so excited about it or whatever. But
I would just say baby steps.
Yeah, just faithfully pursue it. And as far as that particular question goes, pray about it. Like just say, Lord, make it clear to me if I have a bad attitude about this, and if I don't, help me to take small steps towards learning more about
or
this.
Or if it's just like, it's not super interesting. Like, there's things that I feel like it's fine. You don't have to be interested in it. Like, computer programming to me leaves me utterly devoid of enthusiasm. Like, I'm not interested in it at all. But on the other hand, I don't think that food is quite in that same category. You know, like, we all have to eat food every day, even if you're not interested in cooking it. Even if you don't like it,
you're making decisions about it. You're making decisions about it every day, multiple times.
And so I don't think there's any requirement that everyone has to be gourmet. But,
or, like, you don't have to be gravitating towards the food magazines, or, like, I can't wait. Like, there's no need to think that you have to be.
But I also think that this is an area where the more you dig and the more you learn, the more you can be just stunned at God's creation.
Well, like, I'm just going to say something. I'm going to soar to the next level of too many things that we're bringing up right now.
Why not?
But feminism has had so much to do with our perspective of not admiring this kind of work. We think of it as not being important or powerful,
unless you're getting paid for it. In which case it becomes valid.
It's cool then. The thing about it that is feminism teaching us that this is not important work if it's serving others. Like if you're serving, if you're doing it for other people. This is the thing, is that women, when the Bible talks about women being a weaker vessel, or women being like, I think it is not saying, like, it's not saying women don't have strengths or don't have power in certain areas. So, for instance, the strongest warrior in the world cannot make a baby. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a different kind of strength. But it is also, it's not strength that's not fighting. I think that that's the thing that is, you think, well, we're in this big battle to, you know, whatever, and I have to stay at home and do the thing that doesn't matter. Like, that tends to be the perspective. No. And it is like, no, because the work of having children and raising children, as my husband says, we're just like, what we're trying to do with our children is we're trying to shape their loves and their loyalties. We're trying to give them and
fat souls. That's what we always used to say. Give them fat souls.
Yes, and that is not a thing that is not impactful in the world.
No.
And so when you think of things like so one thing that really matters to my kids is the homemade Danishes Christmas morning. That matters.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that one got traction. I've made things that didn't get traction. That was one that they were like, this matters. But I know every year that you do that again, you're just shaping, it's like just shaping how they think of, like, it's just a certain kind of joy that shapes the kind of people you have. Like, women are in the business of making people. And that's a shocking thing when you think about it. Like, beyond just having the baby, I'm talking about you're shaping people. Like, what are their, you know, default, like, how do they think through different issues? What do they yearn for? What do they lean towards? What do they, you know, you're shaping all kinds of things. And food is one of the primary weapons that a mother has in, like, the culture building, people shaping. This is an incredible resource that you could be using for great good.
Right.
And that's the thing, that it's like, whether or not, it's kind of like, weaponry is I guess I'm just saying, if you really needed to be equipped, if you really cared about the fight, God has given you an amazing weapon here. And to not pick it up or to not be interested in it is in some way not really, you know, it's like, you got to honor God with what he's given us.
Yeah, and that's not to say that every meal must be phenomenal. Because, of course, it's like, there are so many days you're like, make yourself a dang quesadilla.
Yeah.
Or like, make yourself a piece of toast. Yeah, there's stuff in there. Have some cereal. Make yourself an egg. I don't care. You know, like, there's plenty of that. But it's also just, like, being the kind of person who knows how to minister to people through food.
I do not. I need, like, as much as I am into food and as much as I like to feed people and I work on it, I am far from having a incredible menu plan always going. Like, I mean, like, last night, what I fed my children for dinner was a bag of Costco wontons with rice and like a dipping sauce that we made up. It was like a speed dinner of like, here.
Well, see, and like last night though, for me, it was like, oh my word, I'm not at school. I'm not teaching. Right. This is fun. We're on break. I was like, it felt like you were saying earlier, what sounds good right now? I went out and just bought a pile of steaks and did baked potatoes. Oh, that's
super fun. Yeah.
Where it's like, and we did like a blue cheese butter on top with some green onions mashed in there, and it was like, it was on point, I must say.
Yeah, you tapped into what everyone wanted.
It was like, a big steak and a baked potato. That is the answer. And so, anyhow,
but like, I'm just trying to say that the fact that we're saying this is powerful and important and whatever is not the same thing as it being like thinking we in any way have every single meal as being an incredibly spiritual thought through event.
No.
Because it's not. And
oftentimes
I'm confident
like,
that it never will be. Yeah, like, I'm pretty confident that it never is going to be that I'm all over every single meal. But
we have a lot of
chances. I am more all over parts of different meals. Like, you know, I'm just learning, working my way through it.
And you've got life to, like, get better at it, and you have to eat 3 times every single day for the rest of your life, so...
Yeah, but I think it's most important to accept the fact that this is the world that God made, and that it's not us disproportionately valuing it. It's
No.
his. It's
No,
his
he's built
decision that this
in,
is where it goes.
and he's given us a wild variety of things to learn about and choose from. And I always think how funny it is that, like, if you think about some of our staples of, I don't know, chocolate and peanut butter, and you think how many steps did it take before you
unlock
could get
that magic?
that magical pairing, where it's like you chocolate without sugar
or shallots and cognac.
Okay, I haven't gone there, but
I mean, when you deglaze a pan of shallots with cognac, and it's unbelievable.
Sure, but you think about, like, chocolate without sugar is nothing to shout about. And then you take the chocolate and the sugar and the peanuts.
Oh man, did you
and
see,
it's like,
did you ever see that video of the chocolate farmer who had never tasted chocolate
with sugar?
He farmed cocoa, and he was like, I don't know why people like this. Like, he didn't know. Somebody brought him a prepared chocolate bar, and they videoed him tasting it, and it was like he had a moment of like, what? All this time I've had this delicious substance on hand.
But then you think about, okay, how many more flavors are out there that we have not even come close to finding yet? Like, you know that there are things like ice cream.
And how awesome is it? Like, we live in a really unique moment where world cuisine is available to us. And so the fact that we can say, I don't know, what do you feel like eating? Mexican, Chinese, like, what is hilarious? Like, that's like really bizarre. Because for most of life, for most of people, there was no question of that kind of thing. You're like, would you like to have the pheasant that we shot in the field, or would you like to have the venison that we shot in the field?
On Sunday, we did this Moroccan chicken that my kids really like, and I hadn't done it in a while. And so we dug that one out of the annals because I had a bunch of chicken quarter legs in the freezer. So I pulled them out.
Received a phone call.
Anyway, the Moroccan chicken, it's just all these flavors that I don't normally cook with. So, like, heavy on turmeric and lemon and, you know, I mean, it was a really fun extra thing. And
totally,
we wouldn't eat like that every day, but it was such a fun, like...
Well, just think about your spice cabinet and think about, where did all that come from? Like, all these little powders of flavor that came from fields all over the world. That have been processed and jarred and sent to you to better enjoy your food
so that you can decide to try curry.
Like, do you even know where your paprika came from? Like, do you even know what is a paprika? I'm pretty sure it's a pepper, isn't it? Some kind of a pepper that's like dried and ground.
But then you've got cinnamon bark.
Yeah, you got trees from Vietnam giving you their bark to flavor up your holiday things. And, you know, there's a level on which you just have to think deeper about it and thank the Lord. Like, be like, this is a tremendous amount of gift. Like, there have been people, you know, like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah. And then just things you can do with cream.
And then here's another mind blowing. Daphne made me laugh so hard the other day because she was like, Mom, wouldn't it be amazing if, and then she said, I'm gonna stop right there. And she said, because last time I started a sentence with that, I said, wouldn't it be amazing if you could cook an egg inside of its shell? And she said, and then I realized I was just completely ignorant that that's how we made hard-boiled eggs. That just so made me laugh. Like, how did you miss that piece of info, child? And but the point is, like looking back, like, fundamentally in more gratitude at how you were given the food resources that you were given. And it's like, Lord, you're kind to us. Like, this is unbelievable that we're like, basil? Let's use basil. Fresh or dried? Which way would you like that flavorful ingredient?
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. There's just so much. There's so much gift in it.
And I think just, like, take a couple little steps in and then just wait there and then take another couple little steps in.
Even if it's something like, I mean, we have no way of knowing what your regular food habits are, but even if it's something really minor, like, why don't I try making a homemade salad dressing? Like, why don't I try to find a salad dressing that I can make that my whole family loves the most, and then I'll work on that, and then we'll just see if that encourages people and blesses people, and we'll see.
Then sometimes it's just like, I'm gonna buy a new pan. Just try.
Yes, and I would like to say at this point, invest yourself in sharp knives.
Oh, mine are
Because
so dull now.
Nothing
so dull.
brings a life down quite like having dull knives.
Mm-hmm.
When you're trying to cut up like a
No, it's
roast
awful.
and you're sawing it and sawing it and sawing
Yeah.
it and just
It is bad.
reflecting on the evil textures of raw meat while you can't get through it. Anyways, we probably should stop.
We should go. We need to be done.
We're looking forward to a Merry Christmas.
Yep. And
Hope
there were
you are
some
too.
other questions we meant to get to, but we didn't, so maybe
We'll cover
next
them
time.
next time. We'll get there.
All right.
Merry
Have
Christmas
a
to
lovely
all.
Christmas, everyone.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.
New St. Andrews College thanks you for listening.